everybody, how you doing? I am Jason Flom. The man to my right is Peter Tijan, and we are here. We're any way you slice it. Music reviews, rock reviews, yeah, reviews of things we like. That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, we were talking before this that we talked in our first 30-something episodes. It was all Kiss, and we both thought Kiss deserves somebody to really give it up for that music, of course. And we're still going to talk about Kiss. Even today, we're going to mention Kiss, but today we went from Kiss to Yes in like a month.
Yeah, yeah.
So we expect our subscribers to maybe change depending on how open-minded they are, or knowledgeable, or whatever you want.
Got to be open-minded in life, really. But
Talk more about that, would you?
see, you don't want to limit yourself.
We are talking about life. I mean, with an album like Close to the Edge in the works today,
Oh, come on.
let's just talk about existence for a while, Jason.
Any Kiss fans watching this, we're going to be talking about albums that have 3 songs on them, and it's a two double-length album kind of thing. And so we're going to start out this episode, 10 or 15 minutes or so, about Hotter Than Hell. Because, Peter, Hotter Than Hell is celebrating an anniversary.
Coming up, at least America, it was released on October 22nd.
Look at you with the dates. Usually
Exactly.
it's me spouting out the dates.
Dates.
But
I got a lot of dates.
it was...
None of them are female, by the way. But it was recorded in the summer, and it's ironic that it's called Hotter Than Hell, because they probably were fucking hotter than hell in L.A.
It was going to be called The Harder They Come.
Yeah, but recorded in the summer in L.A.
Yeah, in August and early September, and
August.
here we are. It's oh, by the way, really quick, today is September 10th, the 49th anniversary of the release of Kiss Alive,
Which we should...
and there it is.
There we go.
That
Was
Kiss
amazing.
Alive.
That was amazing how it showed up like that.
We can't speak enough about how this changed both of our lives and many of you out there. Yeah, 49 years ago today. I think this warrants a year from now doing a 50th anniversary show.
Duh.
Come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned for that a year from now.
Amazing.
But right now we're talking about Hotter Than Hell. Rip, Rip, and Destroy. Peter, you have a lot of facts about this.
Well, there isn't a ton of facts. In fact, I don't think there's any pictures in the studio. But they recorded... Where did they record? Village Recorders.
Village Recorders.
And I found out it was in Studio A. Recorded in August. Mixed late August, right? I think
And early September.
I think by the 30th, or the very last 30th or 31st of August, it was mixed. They were mastering it by September, and well, that's pumping it out quick. And by mid-late October, third week of October, it's out.
We were just talking about Kiss Alive, and it's weird to think that Kiss Alive came out 11 months after this.
With an album in between them.
Yeah, an album in between as well.
Yeah.
So again, this album was going to be called The Harder They Come. Can I see one of those albums really
Sure.
quick? I want to show that album cover because I'm weird like this, and a lot of Kiss fans are. I like to know the dates the album cover was shot. This right here, take a look at that. August 18th, 1974. This was, and the wild party that ensued afterwards. This was the night Paul, and if you look at him close, he probably is already drunk.
A little drunk.
Plus, I've seen outtakes where he looks very drunk.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the night he was locked in a car, and look at him on the back as well. Just that's kind of, you can't really see it there, but
And don't you just love messed up old vinyl like that?
yes, I love.
You
Yeah.
know that vinyl was loved.
Oh, I love the way it smells too, man. So yeah, August 18th. A week later or so, they did another photo shoot, and the day before that shoot is when Ace got in a car wreck and messed up half his face, so he wore half the makeup. So some people think that was for this photo shoot and it was like Photoshop. No, this was like a week before. But yeah, I mean, I love this album cover. It's kind of awkward. It has the fingers up here.
Oh God, it's an amazing album
But
cover. I mean, absolutely amazing.
I love the coloring.
Yeah.
I love the back as well. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Black and white really sets off sitting against the You know, and they went through a lot of trouble to make sure that it just had all sorts of interesting colors and it popped really well. It's
And
just
they're
absolutely
already
killer.
going for the Japanese market as well.
And the yeah, they wanted to win them over.
And
which they
already
did.
on their second album, they're letting you know who they are. On the cover of the album has their names.
Ace, Fury.
Ace, yeah, exactly.
Aces is wrong, I guess. But the recording of the album, that's the thing I wanted to talk about today. You know, it's rough. It's kind of raunchy. Some people go through a lot of effort to make their album sound rough and raunchy and distorted. And it's a feeling. It's a different feeling, you know. These days, you put everything in your nice precision preamps and right straight into your Pro Tools, and it sounds like, well, it sounds different than this. But, you know, you got all sorts of distortion back then from different aspects. Of course, the gear was a lot of tube gear then. Things were analog. You could overdrive. You could hit the tape hard. You know, the compressors back then. You hear Johnny Mathis in the like late 50s, and when he peaks in the middle of a song, they get a brilliant take, and it's like, oh man, you really, when you hit that certain note, you can hear the preamp breaking up. You know, old gear was like that. You know, and it just, after the first album, Paul wanted to, he always calls it, he wanted to push the needles in the red more. He wanted to overdrive things.
Paul
wasn't happy with the
That was
first.
Paul. You would
Yeah.
think, like, you know.
Paul
maybe
wasn't happy
Gene
with the
or
sound of
Ace
the
would be
first
like,
album. No, he
Yeah.
wanted things to sound like Humble Pie or Slade, or, and I think a lot of it needed to come from the amps. You know what I mean? Not necessarily. You don't necessarily get it all in post. I mean, albums, labels like Kill Rock Stars and stuff like that, they probably got a lot of it in post. And shitty gear also will help that raunchy sound. But the recording, I have to say, I love the recording. It would not have the mood that it has. There's no way it would. You hear the couple songs here are remixed on Double Platinum, and it sounds cleaner. The vocals definitely sound cleaner. So they definitely messed up some stuff on the mixes, because some things are clear. The drums are still fairly, even the drums on Double Platinum, they're still kind of rough. You know what I mean? They're still a bit distorted, and so something was overdriving somewhere. And I have a feeling it maybe was Paul pushing them to just push all the levels and overdrive it, hit the tape hard, things like that, and maybe those guys not really knowing how to do that properly.
Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise.
Yeah, I don't know. They were a little green, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on it. Led Zeppelin 2 just slammed and pressed really hard to where, like, the grooves are so thin, your needles bouncing on your record. They had to recall that album. But there's a whole technical side to all the mix downs and the mastering and everything you do every step of the way. So something happened, but I gotta say, I like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking of how Kiss's first three albums, all three sound totally different from each other.
Definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
A lot of people would probably say this sounds the worst. You know, it's probably my favorite. You know, it's like, it's the charm of the album.
Every song's great, man.
Oh.
Every song's great.
Every
And it
song.
was them just getting together, playing all their stuff. They didn't bring in some dude from Alice Cooper's band or anything like that. There was nothing like that. You know, there's no choirs coming in. It was just them playing. So it's great, you know. It's
Absolutely.
a very
It's one of those.
concise
It's
thing.
one of those Kiss albums when it says Gene bass, Paul rhythm guitar, Ace lead guitar, and Peter drums. That's exactly what you
Yeah.
get.
Except for Ace plays bass on what does he play bass on? Parasite, I think Parasite.
Does he?
I think he does. I read
okay.
that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But still, it's only the four guys
Yeah,
on this
they're
album.
playing.
So,
When the guy Joe, what's his name? He remastered it for those remaster CDs for their '97, I think they were. He said dealing with this master tape was really hard. There was a lot of hiss, and all of the albums, I guess, he would compare to a first generation print of each album to make sure that the EQ was in the ballpark. He didn't want to change the albums, and he did want to. I guess he took out some tape hiss and some noise here and there from Hotter Than Hell. But even this, he realized you don't really want to change it. You know.
no, I wouldn't change a thing about this album.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Other than hell, we love it. 50 years.
Yeah,
50 years.
50.
49 alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll put up some of the, or I already did put up some of the screenshots of some of the receipts from the studio, from the session. And that studio, Village Recorders, was like brand new. And they were in Studio A, which Steely Dan had done Countdown to Ecstasy recently in there. That's probably the biggest album that had been done previously in Studio A. And years later, Fleetwood Mac had a whole wing built for them.
Yeah.
Where they recorded Rumors. And stuff.
Oh, man.
So this is a creative
think of
place.
The drama that went in that studio.
Yeah.
Like, during that recording. Rumors. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, so Hotter Than Hell, we love it.
So, all right, we're going to talk about Yes for a while and do a little countdown of the albums. I don't usually do a formal list numbered. In this case, it was fairly easy, really. In fact, there was no drama at all.
Get it?
Yeah. So,
well, that's we're foreshadowing. If I could say something really quick. So Peter's the Yes guy between us. I don't get me wrong, I love Yes. I absolutely love them. He has more knowledge than I do, and the ranking was his. But I feel like I'll interject certain things. There's certain albums I'm really passionate about, and some not as familiar with. So I'm just telling you ahead of time, he's the Yes guy. I'm in a Yes rabbit hole as we speak, but I'm just going to play off his list, and if I disagreed or anything, I'll politely say so. But this is Peter's episode, so go to it, my man.
Thank you,
right.
Jason. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to talk about. I just wanted to mention things up to Big Generator, and I've watched a couple rankings for fun.
Me too.
And once it gets past Big Generator, most people feel kind of the same way. Like, it's not enough to really it's not really worth mentioning. There's some stuff here and there, but where they were really on their shit is up to, I think, Big Generator. Although it's a very different album than Close to Edge or whatever, but still prime stuff.
With that said, a lot of people do love some of the later day Yes albums. And to this day, I just looked up some of their set lists from like this summer. Great fucking set list, man. Yeah. 7 or 8 songs. They begin with Machine Messiah.
Yeah.
And they end with Siberian Katru.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they're still, on top of their game, and people love them still. In the band right now, you got Steve Howe and you got Jeff Downs on keyboards.
Yeah, Steve Howe's kind of the leader these days, I think. It was kind of Chris Squire was.
Yeah.
For a long time until he passed. He was the guy that was on every record until he died. But
yeah.
So yeah, a couple. This I want to mention because it's not it's the BBC stuff. It was probably Top Gear and whatever the few shows everybody was on, and these seem to be sold to just about everybody because you see a lot of different versions. But it's always called Something's Coming or Before and After. One of those songs. They'll steal one of the songs from the first album or something, but a kind of a cool version that I have here that looks pretty vintage and cool, pretty of the era. But the first and second album, they're really, really good actually, and this is kind of like a rough small group. Hearing small group version of stuff from the first album without symphony, very cool, and man, they're rocking and they're raw and they're on it. So the BBC stuff, if you haven't picked it up. It's crazy good.
Yeah, different lineup than you came to know and love, but
yeah,
still good. No Steve Howe yet.
So I wanted to mention that, although we didn't put that really in our ranking. It's pretty killer. So for me, I'm going in reverse from least. I hate to say least, but what are you gonna do? And Topographic is my least favorite.
So we're going from 14 to 1, correct?
Yeah, 15 or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Topographic is my least favorite. It's got some killer stuff on it. I feel like they stretched it too thin. Everyone knows it's overblown, blah, blah, blah. I even feel that some of the playing is not really up to par. And some of the takes could have maybe do that vocal again a little flat.
And this was Alan White's first album with them.
Yeah, now he doesn't really shine on it like he would like on Relayer. I mean, and he's really good. He's the guy in Instant Karma. You know, John Lennon, like he, you know, that, you know, they play in a shuffle and he did cool stuff.
Is he the guy on Cold Turkey? Those are the worst sounding drums I've ever heard.
I'm not, you know, I don't know if he's on Cold Turkey. That was a single.
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure, but Alan White is a total badass, and he lived in Seattle. And I don't know why, I never made any effort to meet him. I saw him play with Apple Jam one time. Apple Jam was kind of a Seattle Northwest star-studded lineup of great local players around here that did 70s era solo Beatle hits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would come and sit in with him all the time and play Instant Karma and play Imagine, sit in on Imagine. It was John from the Beatniks around here, and John would go up and play guitar and sing, and Alan would get back on drums. It was cool.
Very cool.
But I kind of regret not meeting him and trying to get a lesson out of him, because he's an influence of mine. You know.
Yeah.
So even though Topographic does have a lot of great stuff on it, I mean, it definitely, everybody says it definitely does meander. Probably would have been a great single album. Everybody mentions that too.
Yeah, so it was the follow-up to this, and there's 3 songs on this, so they really even went further with it, and it's a double album with like 4 20-minute songs. Mm-hmm. It's very overindulgent. There's some moments, you know, you're gonna have a 80-minute album or whatever. There's gonna be good moments, but
I think it suffers because it's a lot of Anderson Howe writing, probably heavy on the Anderson, and you know how on Close to the Edge, Fragile, these albums, there's a lot going on, but everything is a hook. Everything sits so nicely. For me, even though it's a double album, there's a lot of space where there could be more things happening of melodic nature for me. I mean, and I just noticed that even recently, some of the playing is just like, I think they could have maybe done another take, and it's almost like the takes are too early. Or I feel this from time to time when I hear it. Like, I might be talking out of my ass.
It'd be a cool thing to talk to him about, but unfortunately it's too late.
The album's it's a little loose at times. It is.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a proper ranking, but I would agree with Peter. It would probably be on the bottom of my list.
I still do put it on sometimes, and just to hear that lineup play and hear their tones and hear his voice, there's still some great stuff on there.
It's a challenging listen. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
to make it through all of it.
Yeah. It really is.
You better be doing the dishes or something.
Or
I mean, Ritual. There's some great stuff on there. There is. But, yeah. So the next, I lump the first album and Time and a Word together. To me, it's a pair of albums. Time and a Word has orchestra, of course. The second album, the orchestra was a problem with Peter Banks, the guitar player, and so they were just kind of in disagreement with him, I guess. But he's on the first 2 albums, and the first 2 albums are really killer. It's hard putting them at the end. They're so killer. They really are great. The first album is even a really kind of a great recording for the most part. The drums really sound great. It's a really great album.
It's a top-notch cover on there as well. What's that, Peter?
Oh, the Beatles tune?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You know, when they do a cover, it's not like they threw a cover on because they didn't have material, or I mean, they worked these later. They did America later, Simon and Garfunkel, and they put some effort into these covers. They probably could have easily taken that time to write their own song. They obviously did these covers because they loved them.
Yeah.
The Beatles tune.
John Anderson has that quote about the Beatles being the first progressive band.
Yeah.
So he was definitely a fan.
He's a big fan. Yeah. And I think Every Little Thing She Does is also on the BBC. I think it is.
Yeah, it was.
But they do very expansive things to that song.
Yes.
Not that it's. I love every Beatles song.
The harmonies are there. I mean, great singing.
They do have these stops, so they drop in and out, and they got hits worked out, and little interludes between verses. It's just like they make it their own for sure.
Definitely.
It's amazing.
It really is.
This, some people will probably disagree with this, but how could I put this before the first 2 albums? But man, Big Generator, it's the last one for me that really It really hits hard, and admittedly, it does have tones of adult contemporary working in. It has a couple radio hits.
The first Rhythm of Love, there's some Beach Boys influence in
The
that.
Rhythm of Love. Yeah. I think the two hits on this album, I gotta say, I think they're great. Absolutely love them. I've always loved them. I could not
You
love
know it's
them.
a good song.
I could say they're cheesy and they're commercial, but they do it well. They do it so well.
Shoot High, Aim Low.
Shoot High, Aim Low is
Yeah.
so good.
Yes.
It's so good. And like his
What a chorus.
Raven solos in there, some Demiola. Like, oh, there's some great stuff on here.
Yeah.
I'm Running was always my favorite song on the album.
Big Generator is a good song.
Big Generator reminds me of Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
I get
kind
it.
of reminds me.
I get it.
For me, definitely a mid '80s album cover. Where everybody simplified and got the neons and the baby blues and all that out. But I think it's a great album, and I think Raven kind of saved the group and gave them a new direction in the '80s. Although it wasn't supposed to be it was supposed to be cinema or whatever. But he brought something really cool to the group. So that leads into the next one for me. The live albums. Some people don't want to talk about the live albums, and I don't totally get it because check it out, they're albums. It's that simple for me. It's an album. So yeah, my daughter just walked in, so we had to let her pass. But these are albums. These live albums. They're still albums. And with Yes, their live albums are pretty important. This was a 3-album release. 3 albums. That was a big deal.
6 sides, Peter?
Yeah, but then Kiss came along and saved live albums. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just being a smartass. But this is a great album, and of course it captures that lineup at the time. I'm not going to say it's a bad recording, but it is a little. It doesn't have the pretty shimmer, pretty cymbals. It's not extremely hi-fi, which is interesting because we're dealing with Yes. They deserve it. It's a little roomy at times. Some songs more than others. I think they recorded 7 shows, and you can get that whole box set now.
Yeah, it was recorded in 72 and 73, so there's 2 drummers on this.
Yeah.
Ruford and...
Bill's on somewhere. I read he's on 3 songs, and I think in the notes in this copy, I think it says he's on 2. But yeah, he's on a couple songs.
I read 2, so it's probably 2.
Yeah. It's a killer album. I mean, it's gargantua. It's huge. It's that lineup,
Yeah, yeah.
That takes me into the next album because I just felt like I wanted to put the live albums in there. For me, as a live album, I like this one a little better. It's a great recording. It has live stuff with Mraz. I love the Going for the One era, and so this is kind of like, it's got stuff from a couple tours, kind of like the other one did, I guess. But it's got 2 different lineups, not just a drummer change or whatever. It's got Patrick Mraz, and that really changes things up. But killer live album and killer recording.
Yeah, Mraz took over for Wakeman, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter burned me a copy of this like a year ago. It's great album.
Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah, shows. Really cool album cover. That takes us into...
Was that like 79 or 80? It's
78,
late 70s.
78-ish, I think. Yeah. This takes me to, first of all, one of my favorite covers. Look at that cover.
Cool back cover too. Yep.
So cool.
That should be a gatefold, was it?
This is when Roger Dean's choices of colors were just, every album, just amazing, So cool. No, it's not. It's not a gatefold.
Wow.
Just the whole packaging they put together for this. And what this is prime cuts from the first 2 albums. And it's got America, which they recorded, which they've been doing for a couple of years, I guess. But they recorded it, ironically, during the Fragile sessions, and it was a single at that point. And there's a really long version out there somewhere. And I guess live it got really long, like 15 minutes or something like that. But I just love
which for them is nothing.
I love that. Yeah, we're just walk in the park. But I just love everything about the release.
That is a cool label.
It's so cool. His art was just So cool at the
So
time.
it's a compilation of the first two albums.
So I put this above the first two albums because it's got America. It's got such a great
Is that
cover.
the Beatles cover?
It's mastered really nice. No, it's got. But I mean, just the cover. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just being materialistic here. But, but it's got America on it, and it's got a lot of great stuff from the first two albums. So it's a really, really nice listen.
It's got a naked woman on the cover if you look close.
Which is kind of portrayed after the Time and Word girl, the legs.
Okay.
Which I guess Time and Word, they didn't like that cover for America. They didn't want to put that out with the naked legs.
Smut.
What did you say, smut?
Smut.
I
Yeah.
thought you said slut.
Oh, can't let America see that smut.
Yeah,
Same with Blind Faith. Change that cover.
that was bad. And
Yes.
Virgin Killers, what were they doing?
Man.
Whoa,
Yeah.
crazy.
Come on, have some taste, people.
Yeah. So that brings us to that doesn't bring us to this. This is just sitting in here accidentally, but I want to mention this because although I got fragile and close to the edge when I was young, when I was a teen, older teen, about what was I, about 16, 17, I really wanted to dive into Yes more and hear more than just Fragile. And like you said, the few songs you hear on the radio every day. And I picked this up because I thought it would be a nice compilation. And
It's one of the first I picked up as well.
and it was. And I have to say, it's an amazing collection. The order is great. And I've always told people, if you're interested in Yes and you want to hear a little more than just roundabout on the KSW or the radio, KSW is our rock station here, pick up Classic Yes, because it really did the trick for me. And it made me dive deep in those bins and get every Yes album I could get. Classic Yes is great.
It really is. It's classic Yes.
Yeah.
On K-Tel.
Oh, engage it.
No. It's not on K-Tel. by
It's
the
a
way.
killer cover too.
That's-
You know, what is this, 82
They
or
give you quality,
81? So it's 81, so the colors are getting a little more vibrant, a little more 80s-ish.
Mhm.
But I still think it's a great cover.
Yeah. And in classic Yes style, it's a greatest hits, and there's 7 songs.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're all killer.
It's got the kind of like chrome-looking, updated bubble logo from the Drama album, because that's what they were
Yeah.
using right at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Classic Yes is great. So back to the list. I put Tornado next. And a lot of people don't put this that high. A lot of people might put Topographic.
You know what's funny?
before
You
this.
pronounce it Tornado, I pronounce it Tormado.
Yeah. It probably is Tornado.
Can I, a really quick story about this album cover.
Uh-huh.
Early 80s, I'm in the Tacoma Mall with my mom, and I go into a bookstore, and I always went right to the music section, and I find the Book of Rock lists, And
Worst album covers of all time?
Yes, this was in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone had
This
to do
was
it.
in it. Hadn't heard the album, probably hadn't even seen the cover. Tornado, according to the Book of Rock lists, I think that was a bunch of Rolling Stone writers. This was one of the worst album covers of all time.
It isn't extremely appealing.
I wouldn't want this on a T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, you pull up, you
The
got this
back's
on your,
cool.
you show up to the show, hey man, what's up, man? You got this, and some other guy's got like a cool Rain of Blood shirt over here, and you're like, got tomatoes on my shirt.
Somebody throw tomatoes at you, man?
Yeah. Having said that, the music, I think that there is no other album like this. It's got Wakeman on it, and you might lump this in. I mean, obviously it's between Going for the One and Drama. But Drama hadn't come out yet. So this, I think every song is great. I think the drums are recorded maybe a little too natural. They could have used a little more finesse in the mixing for the drums, maybe. They sound kind of like they didn't do much to the drums. They sound like good drums. Alan White always had a great drum sound, naturally. But there's not a whole lot of verb I hear on here. This definitely isn't production that they would get on Drama, the next time around. That's some great production. But every song, so great. Steve
Don't
Howe
Kill
is
the
so
Whale.
great on here. All Anderson's vocal hooks, amazing. I think on people's lists, I have to say I think this is usually pretty underrated. I think it's stellar. Yeah, it's some great stuff, and they're hinting on new wave here and there. They're not quite there like on Drama yet, but they got some cool keyboard sounds that they had never used before. I don't know. It's the only album like this. I think it's
Yeah.
really strong, actually.
He's got it in the middle of the pack, and I would too. I will say from here on out, like all the albums are like amazing.
Yeah, the problem is this came out after Going for the One.
Yeah.
And Going for the One, and I mean a couple other albums that we'll mention. I mean, how do you top it? It's
And the album that came after it is absolutely incredible.
It's great, and Drama's recorded really, really well. And what do you know? That would be next.
Is this called an unboxing? Because you're going to open this on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I got this week, and saved it for unboxing. I got a razor here. Here it is.
This is high drama in itself.
Whoa!
Because we don't know what's in this.
I'm not going to say yes to that. I'm going to say yeah, because you probably have a comeback.
True.
So I'm just going to rip this off like a bonehead, even though that sticker looks pretty right there. So first of all,
did you ever cut out the stickers and put them inside the album?
Yeah, I have a couple
Yeah.
times. You're like, yeah.
I think the sticker's
Geeks
still
rock,
still
Geeks
inside
rock.
my Asylum album.
Oh, really?
Includes Who Wants to Be Lonely?
So I'm going to read this right here just because cut from the original Analog Master tapes by Kevin Gray. And Kevin Gray is the guru. He's Mr. Analog vinyl, slab of vinyl cutting man. Like he does all the big stuff. I'm pretty sure he did my Bill Evans stuff, and like he's the man. So I'm mentioning that because you can get this on Amazon right now for only $21.99.
Wow, that's it?
That's why I got it, because I kind of want to get. I mean, I have I have all the Yes on cassette. I have some 8-tracks. I have them all on CD. I have a lot of them.
This is what he had. Now he has this.
I have them remastered, and I have a lot of the originals, vinyl. But now I'm setting out to get all the remasters on vinyl, because why not? Could I do anything better with my money? Probably not. But
yeah, let's see.
It's a beautiful version, nice thick cardstock, and they didn't change anything. It's not extremely special, but it's just nice to open up that crisp new vinyl. So let's just show the nice slab here,
Look how clean it is.
So our watchers can drool before we move on. That's right. I own it. Look at that. You wish you did. No, $21.
The CD looked like that too, by the way.
I figured I'll get this first, and I didn't actually realize it was a Kevin Gray master, but he's the shizzle. He's the shizzle dizzle, Kevin Gray is.
What, no tattoos in that? Come on.
No tattoos. Who cares? But absolutely killer album, and it's half of the group is the Buggles.
Yeah, so Jeff and Trevor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people know the Buggles from the first song ever video played on MTV, right?
Yeah.
Video Killed the Radio Star. That guy you see in the close-ups, the guy with the glasses singing, he's the singer on this album.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't look very different on the Yes tour.
No,
He wasn't totally accepted.
not at all. But I will say this.
He probably got some tomatoes.
He sounds a lot like John Anderson.
He sounds similar enough to be able to. That's what their thing was. Have somebody who's a creative force but can sing John's songs.
Yeah, he does it justice, and I'll tell you right now.
Because who else is like John Anderson? That's hard to find.
First of all, Machine Messiah. To this day, they open up with that song. Does It Really Happen is one of my favorite Yes songs. Flat out.
Yeah.
That kind of foreshadows kind of what you would get on the next few albums.
Mm-hmm.
Into the Lens is incredible. There's a video for that. You can
That was my first favorite on the album
Yeah.
as a kid. I
am a camera.
I am a camera.
There's a video for that. You can see the Buggle dude. There he is right there.
Mm-hmm.
The Buggle dude. I'm sure he wants to be known as that.
He's still got
by the way, really quick.
eyes.
He was only on this album, but he was very important on the next couple albums. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
He was still around in a certain capacity.
Yeah, he produced. And this has got Alan on drums. It's got Jeff Downs on keyboards. Yeah, and Chris Squire, of course. And it's a really killer standout album.
A lot of bonus tracks on this, I just noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they went and recorded a bunch of stuff with Baker, like Dude recorded Cars, like what's his name? And it didn't
Roy Thomas Baker?
Yeah, it didn't work out so good.
Right.
I mean, I think they actually kind of had bad things to say. But you know what worked for Cars? I mean, that first Cars album. Holy shizzle dizzles!
Greatest
Get
hits.
back. You know, it's the greatest.
Might
hits.
as well be greatest hits.
But you know, didn't quite work for Yes, and that's okay because they came up with this masterpiece. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm putting this in my top 3 Yes albums.
And for me personally, this is the last album cover in the line of Roger Dean album covers that really is just amazing, absolutely amazing. He's done a lot of stuff since then.
Well, Classic Yes came out after this, right?
Yeah,
You're talking about studio albums.
Maybe months before. Actually, what is this? 80? Yeah. So Classic Yes came out just after.
Yeah.
But so Classic Yes is cool, but I mean this album cover, that's a killer album cover.
It really is.
And after this, you know, it was on to simple 80s album covers where they didn't really use Dean. And when he came back, it was for Union. It's okay. A lot of stuff now that he does is kind of like a lot of green, a lot of weird rocks. I don't know. It doesn't really hit me hard like a lot of this stuff did, like Relayer or whatever.
There had to be a reason why they stopped using them, because why wouldn't you want to use?
It was just 80s.
Because then you went to this.
80s, and they signified a big...
There
You know,
was a...
everybody.
Yeah, I know.
This is like their Kiss Asylum album cover. They got primary colors and shit.
Yeah.
So that's Drama. So next, what do I have next on the list? Next on the list, and thank God we both admire this album because some people don't.
Really?
Yeah, some people think it's, oh, you know, they heard it on the radio, it's pop trash, whatever, but absolute
Trash.
absolute
Yeah, right.
masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a masterpiece. You still hear songs from
Compare
this.
it to the pop music at the time. I mean, this is superior.
Yeah.
4 songs on this.
The video with the snakes and stuff, so killer.
4 songs were huge hits. This album was huge.
Yeah, the whole album is really great. It had a live album. This spawned a live album. Yeah, it doesn't really hit me. It never really hit me hard enough to where I felt like I need to put it on the list. But it does exist.
Oh, and by the way, Mr. Bugle Guy from Drama, the singer, he produced this.
Yeah.
Well, he produced this.
They
He
were
really
thinking
did.
about having him come back and sing, and I guess him and Raven didn't quite get along too well. I guess Raven knew what he wanted to do. That guy is a powerhouse. He could play like Al Di Meola. The guy's a shred head. You know what I mean? And I guess on keyboards too. You know. So it didn't quite work out so good. I think they maybe jammed it up a bit. But he ended up producing.
Yep. And part of the next album, Big
The
General.
sound of this album, the snare on Owner of a Lonely Heart, like I really never get sick of hearing that tune.
That you can't deny that song.
Yeah.
I mean, overplayed maybe, video overplayed, possibly. Guy jumping off the building.
Yeah.
Come on, that's classic. Great album.
All of it though, changes,
yeah.
cinema.
Leave It.
I mean, it can happen. Just like epic, epic stuff.
Really is.
It has a really nice commercial slant, but that can be good when you do it right, you know. So.
If you're wondering what 90125 is, if you look on the back of the album, it's the
Barcode.
barcode.
Yeah.
It's
that show that came out before Friends.
I suppose it probably is a zip code somewhere, right?
Yeah.
All right.
It's Friends zip code in their apartment.
All right. What's next? You named a business after this.
Yeah, so I do T-shirts for bands. By the way, hit me up. Relayer shirts on Instagram. I do one color shirts, and I design too. But my home studio, when I have a home studio, right now I'm in kind of a smaller place, but I call it Relayer Studio, and I call my shirt thing Relayer shirts. So I just use Relayer for everything.
Fair
Because
enough.
what did they do? They kind of created the word, did they not? I could never find the word anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a real word.
I mean, relay's a word. Relayer. Come on.
So I kind of bogarted
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah. And first of all, the album cover, holy shizzles. Look at that.
It's not even colorful, and it's cool.
It's so, it's got a really cool coldness to it, doesn't it? I mean, it's a lot of gray. It's amazing.
Yeah, very cool
The
picture.
detail
too.
on this album cover. I've always loved the album cover. And it's one of the later ones that I had the patience to get into. musically, but I admired the album cover long before I actually picked up a copy of it. It's another one that has another really
Ooh,
cool.
look at that.
Yeah, it's got another really cool label here. He was just really on his game at this point.
I like when bands would not use, the record company's
The stock-
standard
the
stock
stock,
logo.
yeah,
They would,
yeah.
Kiss did it with Dynasty. I mean, they would do different things.
I always looked at this picture. Like, just look at these gentle lads sitting around in the park.
Awesome.
You know.
Absolutely.
But
awesome.
the album has got two insane
I
prog
think Gentle Lads
masterpieces.
Sitting Around the Park was the original title of that album.
It probably was, yeah. It's got two insane masterpieces, and it's got this just beautiful song that ends the album. It goes places, but very melodic. Begins as a ballad to be over. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with it, so I'm letting him do all the talking. But he says it's amazing, and I'm gonna delve further, as you should.
Well, they were influenced at this point by a bit of fusion, and yeah, you can hear it.
What was the last song on it? There's only 3 songs.
To Be Over?
correct?
Yep.
Yeah, we were playing To Be Over because I asked him his favorite song on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good track. So I'm gonna explore this.
Yeah. Absolutely killer album. Patrick Moraz is on this. Wakeman had just left. And whatever Moraz brought to the group, it was the right thing. Because when you compare this to the album that came out right before, Topographic, I mean, that's quite a difference in impact when you put this baby on.
You know what blows my mind? This must be good because you have it above Drama. And
Yeah.
I love Drama.
Yeah. Drama's
So,
great.
Yeah.
Drama's great, but it ain't Relayer.
Okay. Okay.
The drama is great, and it is new wavy, and it's cheesy in a way that I love it. I love it. You know what I mean? But this is some serious stuff. Get up and get your grandma out of here. So that brings us to like this just amazing run of albums here. That next from me, and I know this is a little higher for you probably, but I got the Yes album next. And after I had Fragile and Close to the Edge, this is one of the next ones I picked up. And I just thought the cover was so weird, them sitting there with his head.
In my early days of being into Yes,
Uh-huh.
when I picked this album up, I thought it was their debut.
Yeah.
Because it's just called the Yes
Yeah,
album.
it's called the Yes album.
Found out later, of course, there were 2 before this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was familiar, of course, because of radio with I've Seen All Good People. And then I picked up that classic Yes that you showed earlier, and I think Starship Troopers is on there, or maybe Yours Is No Disgrace. I knew those songs as well. So this album already had a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get it, and the whole thing's incredible.
It really is. My favorite cut is probably Starship Trooper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an epic masterpiece. Oh my God. It's
They do
great.
it live to this day. This is them kind of between their early phase and what they became, I think. I think Starship Trooper in itself is exactly what I just described.
Just the fact that there's anything else on the album after Starship Trooper, I'll take it. Starship Trooper is just...
I've Seen All Good People might be a little bit overplayed too, but what a great song, man.
It is, and it is really cool and expansive and progressive, but it had a good balance. For some reason, had a good balance for the radio. They did the trick at the time, and even if you're a prog group, if you're on the radio a bit, it helps.
Steve Howe's on board.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, first album with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the deep cuts, The Venture. I've always loved The Venture.
Well, yeah.
I've always
Yep.
loved that song.
Mm-hmm.
Great. It's a lot of people's first. It's a lot of people's number one. And the top 3 or 4. I mean, depending on whatever week it is, I could bounce them around too. But
I might even go so far as to say if you want to get into the band, that might be where to start.
it is.
Because it really is like where they were and where they're going. Because you don't want to start out with, good as it is, Close to the Edge, you might be a little overwhelmed.
I wouldn't really start with Close to the Edge. It's too dense. It's too long.
Don't start with Topographic Oceans, because you won't continue.
Well, Classic Yes is a great overview from early 70s to late 70s. it's great. It's got wondrous stories and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're starting out, Fragile or the Yes album, you can't lose with those. This next one is really hard because my number one is easy. It's a lot of people's number one. But my number 2 and 3, personally, I don't really know whether to put Going for One ahead of Fragile or Fragile ahead of... Fragile is more classic, for sure.
Yes.
It's more classic, but what they achieved on Going for the One, Wakeman Comes Back, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yes. The whole thing is good, but man.
I love the
that
way it
title
busts
track,
in.
oh
I love
my
the way
God.
it busts in with kind of like...
It is so...
What are they doing starting a Yes album?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
This
That's what I
guitar,
mean.
This silly guitar lick, and then... You know, it's just, oh my God, they bust right in. It's amazing they bust right in. But the depths on this album, later in that song, but Parallels and Awaken, I mean, there's no better Yes stuff.
Wondrous
than that.
Stories is a great single.
It's up
too.
there with the stuff on Close to the Edge and Fragile and all that, but Going for the One is top tier, absolutely.
Yeah, 77, I believe. Yeah, they rebounded, and they came back strong into the decade. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Going for the One is killer. And this is why it's hard for people to figure out whether they like Tomato that much, because it's the same lineup like a year later, doing it again, but it's a different kind of album. You know, it doesn't have those really long, dense epics. They're going for
the one
4 or 5 minute songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parallels, Going for the One. Those two tracks are in my top 5.
Yeah.
Yes songs of all time.
And the ballads too. You know, I mean, Wondrous Stories. I mean, Turn of the Century. I mean, there is nothing bad about this album. Absolutely.
That's one of those albums that got the Goodwill.
Favorite
years
album
ago.
cover?
No.
It's the Hypnosis album cover, by the way.
Yeah. But Peter about a year ago posted something on Facebook about how much he loved the album, and I re-listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my God, it is one of their best albums."
It's just,
but I always loved it.
It's just amazing.
Yeah,
and
it really
that this is when Alan, in his thick snare, absolutely solid. His meter, his tempo, he's just a great player on there. Yeah, I mean, that truly is an amazing album.
For our Italian speaking friends, Fragile by Yes.
Fragile.
Yeah, this would, I guess, their most classic album because it has Roundabout, it has Long Distance Runaround, you know.
To me, what makes this album work, it's got 3 centerpiece songs, which are group arranged, and powerhouse songs. Like, oh my God, so good. But it's kind of broken up with these solo pieces, and so Move for a Day on here, it's solo, but the other pieces incorporate the other guys to a degree, but something about time crunch, studio costs, like, hey, let's go in different rooms or something and turn out some little solo pieces. And it's interesting because some people don't like that about it, but not every album can be Close to the Edge. I mean, I think what makes this album work is that it is broken up like that, and it has...
You just gave away your number 1.
It keeps the momentum. Whoa, what could it be? What could it possibly be? I think it's really cool the way it's broken up. That variety on the album is pleasing, I think. Probably why when I was 14, this one actually hit me hard.
I remember, I didn't mention this about how I got into the band, but about 20 years ago I was at work and I had headphones on. And I'm talking headphones, I'm not talking about earbuds. And I was listening to the radio and Long Distance Runaround came on. Great song to listen to in headphones.
Yeah. Sonic masterpiece.
I was blown away.
Oh yeah.
And I guarantee you, I went home that night and put that on. And yeah, from that moment on, it's always been my favorite Yes song. Yeah, I know it's like saying "Stairway to Heaven's" your favorite Zeppelin song, but
Roundabout.
Roundabout would be
Beato does Rick Beato on his channel. He'd look him up if you haven't seen it. He does a breakdown of Roundabout and talks about it. Pretty cool. Yeah, but this one is hard to top. I mean, Long Distance, South Side of the Sky. I mean, Heart of the Sunrise.
South Side of the Sky.
Heart of the Sunrise. Oh my God, it's just
yeah.
Yeah, and those little solo pieces they put together. or that they at least control in a solo way. They break it up. I think they break it up really nice, and I've always thought it was such a cool, odd collection of things. And
That fit together well.
the album cover.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's a really cool album cover.
Yeah.
This is, like I said earlier, I think this is when Roger Dean. Every album cover was really special. Honestly, when I go on Amazon, I use Amazon Music. You look at all the Yes albums from the last 20 years, and they kind of do start to run together. A lot of green, a lot of weird rocks, and they're not bad. But I mean, at this time, the color choosings for each to set off each album, and the next album was going to be something different, and then Relayer comes and killer,
Yeah.
killer.
This is another good starting point if you're getting into the band.
And this is the last album that didn't have the Yes bubble logo,
Oh, okay.
which leads us to.
Whoa.
And sadly, I don't have it on vinyl right now.
Wow. You know that's going to be ordered soon. Though.
Kill me. Yeah, I do want to get the. I want to get the remaster soon. And I saw a nice copy at a record store a couple weeks ago, but it was a little too much. So I'm a bargain hunter.
He is.
I like to wait. If it's $40 for a nice copy of Close to the Edge, I might just.
Speaking of that, you're going to have some stuff to show here in a bit.
I might wait on. Yeah, I got some cool stuff coming in the mail.
No, you got a stack right there you're going to show, right?
Oh, from earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was record shopping earlier. So yeah, it's most people's. I would say that this is probably the greatest prog album ever.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the only one to think that. It's in my top 3 Yes albums.
Yeah.
I agree with your top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Again, here they start the album off with kind of this freaky. It sounds like they're just kind of jamming, and they had actually toured with Mahavishnu, so they were influenced by that stuff, and they were. You can hear on Relayer too. They were influenced by fusion at the time, and I guess that freeness you kind of hear, that chaotic freeness, when they do the stops in the vocals, and I guess that was kind of Mahavishnu influenced, just all the right things happen on the album, and they end the album with a nice tight arrangement that just ends on such a strong note too.
That Siberian is in my top 2 or 3 Yes songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
I didn't really realize it when I was younger either. When I was a teenager, early 20s, sometime in my 30s, I get on little Yes kicks, and I remember just one night listening to it and going, "This is absolutely the greatest Yes album." Like, I always had loved Fragile. It was one of the first ones I got. It's easier to digest because of the length of the songs and how it's kind of broken up with the variety. But Close to the Edge, if you've never really tried that hard, it's definitely worth it. It is just so powerful. It's almost like an out-of-body experience listening to the whole thing. If you cannot have the phone ringing, whatever, it's powerful.
True words spoken by Peter Tees.
Yeah.
Okay, so Peter, I've enjoyed talking about Yes with you.
Indeed.
But you recently went shopping. Was that just today?
Oh, I just picked up a couple things on my.
I think you did this our last episode, and I think people liked it. So, what is in your bag, Peter Teaser?
What is in my bag? What I picked up today was Brand X product, which is one of the last ones with Phil on it. I can't think. Is he on one more after this, or part of the next album?
Phil Collins. Phil Collins is who we're talking about.
Yeah. So.
Charisma.
Look at, there's the connection too, charisma. So when Trick of the Tail came out, he was kind of like, he's going to go up front and be singing most of the time. He wanted a way to get his rocks off drumming. So Livestock, Unorthodox Behavior, those are great Brand X records. But this was the 3rd or 4th album in the series. Killer stuff. And if you want to hear, on here they start working in some vocals and a bit of more pop element. But if you want to hear Phil Collins sound like Billy Cobham, pick up Livestock or Unorthodox Behavior. Yeah, killer stuff. The other thing I picked up today, I went total stoner boner on this one. I was like, I found the first Sugar Loaf, and just Green Eyed Lady alone to have it on
Oh.
nice, clean vinyl.
See, that's the only song by them I even know.
I mean, can you listen to Green Eyed? I mean, when you put Green Eyed Lady on a CD, does it even work, or does it just stop? I mean, it's supposed to be on vinyl, isn't it?
Yeah. That bass line.
Yeah. Killer album. I found it for $5. I thought, I'm gonna pull it out and see, and it was gleaming. I was like, oh god, yes, I'll take it. It's weird too. It's on Liberty. It's on Liberty Records. Such a weird label. Liberty was like a weird kind of, I don't know, not a budget label, but weird stuff. I mean, Chipmunks were on Liberty. It's like, what the hell? Sugarloaf was on Liberty, I guess.
So, were they only known for that song?
They're pretty
That's all
much they're pretty much only known for that song.
Oh, that's a CCR kind of photo.
That is a Green River kind of a
Yeah.
West of Tomorrow. There's a few cool tunes on here. I gotta say, their version of Train Kept Rolling, not personally one that I'm into, but I just wanted to have this primo condition vinyl of Green Eyed Lady so I can crank this baby out. $5. I go to Half Price Books. The scores you can get at Half Price Books. It's my favorite store. So that's what's in my bag today. Not much. I picked this up today. So
All right, so that would do it for this episode.
there's the Yes albums.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I'm in that rabbit hole, so this was right up my alley. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't. We got plenty more of this kind of thing coming. There's plenty of old episodes to delve into as well. I'm Jason. He's Peter. See you next time.